Welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Kele Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader.
You were handed someone else's decision to deliver. You had no seat at the table when it was made. You may not fully agree with it, and yet here you are, standing in front of your team, expected to be the face of a change you did not choose. And the pressure is quiet but heavy. If this goes well, leadership will notice. If it goes sideways, your team loses trust in you. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you're supposed to keep everyone motivated. That right there, that impossible middle, is exactly what we're getting into today. Because if you're a woman in middle management, I want you to know you are not stuck. You are positioned, and there's a difference. Today, I'm going to show you how to use that position to lead change with clarity, credibility, and confidence, even when the decision wasn't yours. Welcome back to Communicate to Lead, the podcast for women leaders who are done waiting for permission to lead at the level they are already operating at. I'm your host, Kele Belton, leadership communication coach and executive presence strategist. And today, we're talking about one of the most underestimated leadership skills, communicating change you did not choose. By the end of this episode, you'll have a 5-part framework to communicate any change clearly, language for handling resistance without losing your team's trust, and a strategic approach to advocating upward that positions you as a solution-oriented leader, not a complainer. Before we dive in, I would appreciate your help with something. If you're finding value in this podcast, if these conversations are helping you to see your leadership differently or giving you strategies you can actually use, would you take 2 minutes to leave a review? Every review helps more women leaders find the show. When you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening, it signals that this content is valuable. And that means another woman who is potentially struggling with the same challenges you have faced has a better chance of finding these strategies. Your review doesn't need to be long. Even a few sentences about what resonated with you, that's enough to make a difference. Okay, let's get back into it. Before we get into today's content, if you haven't listened to episode 49 of this podcast, which is called Effectively Leading Through Change, Navigating the Challenges with Grit and Grace, I want to encourage you to go back and listen after today. That episode covers the broader mindset and culture side of change leadership. Today, we're going one level deeper into the communication strategies that make change land with your team. Think of these 2 episodes as a complete toolkit. I'll link to episode 49 in the show notes so you can find it quickly and easily. And that communication piece is exactly where we're starting today, with a mindset shift, because the language you use privately about your role will shape every conversation you have publicly. I often hear the following from leaders in middle management. I'm just the messenger. I'm stuck in the middle. I don't have any real power here. Here's the reframe I encourage you to try on. You are not just the messenger. You are the meaning maker. In any change, your team is really asking 3 questions. What is happening here? What does it mean for me? And lastly, can I trust the person telling me this? You may not control the answer to the first question, but you have enormous influence over the second and the third. You shape how your team experiences this change through the clarity of your message, the honesty of your tone, the empathy in your responses, and the consistency of your follow-through. So instead of asking, what am I supposed to do with this? Start asking, how can I make this more understandable, more human, more workable for my people? That's where your leadership lives. not in who signed off on the decision, but in how you bring it to life with your team. And I want to normalize something before we move on. You can be a good organizational citizen and still have mixed feelings about a change. Your job isn't to perform enthusiasm you don't feel. Your job is to communicate honestly in a way that's aligned with your role and helps your team to move forward. That's the kind of leadership I want to help you build. And the 5-part framework we'll discuss next is exactly how to do that. Let's move into the framework. You can use this for any change conversation, a reorganization, a new tool, a process shift, a strategic pivot. I call it the Clarity Bridge framework because your job as the leader in the middle is to build a bridge between the decision at the top and the reality on the ground. Here are the 5 parts: context, what and why, what it means for us, what we know and don't know, and then finally, how we'll navigate this together. So here's the first part, context. Your job here is to briefly set the stage. You get to orientate your team, not defend the decision. So here's what you could say. As you know, the company has been focused on improving how we manage projects across departments. As a result of that review, a decision has been made. Your response needs to be short, neutral, don't add any spin to it. That's the first one. The second one, the what and why. State clearly what is changing and give a simple reason people can understand, not corporate jargon or a 20-minute business case. And it could look something like this. Starting next month, we're moving from tool A to tool B for project tracking, so we can reduce duplicate work and give leadership better visibility. Clarity here builds trust. Vagueness breeds speculation, and we all know what happens when people start speculating. That is part 2. Part 3 is all about what it means for us. This is the part most leaders tend to skip, and it's the part your team cares about the most. A simple structure that works every single time is, here's what stays the same: our core responsibilities, our customer base, and our flexible work arrangements. Here's what's changing: how we track tasks, how we escalate roadblocks, and who we report to. The anchor of what stays the same or what's changing gives people something solid to hold on to during uncertainty. Here's part 4. And part 4 focuses on what we know and don't know. This is where your credibility really shows up because your team already knows you don't have all the answers. Pretending that you do will erode trust faster than anything else. So be honest, be clear, and be brief. So here's what you could say. Here's what I know right now. Here's what's still being worked out. And here's the question I know is on your mind. I don't have the answer yet, but here's what I'm doing to get clarity. And you get to fill that in, being really clear. Here's what I know right now. Tell them exactly what it is that you know. Here's what we're still working out. And here's the question I know. And give them that question and be honest that you don't have the answer. And as soon as you have it, you will share it with them. That transparency is important. It's transparency without oversharing. That's the standard. And then finally, part 5, share with them how we'll navigate this together. Tell it to them straight so it's clear and concise. And here's how you could say that. As your leader, manager, supervisor, I commit to sharing updates as soon as I have them and creating space in our one-on-ones to process this. What I ask from you is openness to the new process, honest feedback about what's working, and patience as we work through the messy middle. That's a commitment, not a speech. And it positions you as a partner, not simply a relay point. So here's the complete template or script that you can use to share your message with your team. Team, as you know, the company has been looking at how we manage projects across departments. As a result of that review, we're moving from tool A to tool B starting next month, so we can reduce duplicate work and give leadership clearer visibility. For our team, this means your weekly status updates will move to tool B, and we'll use it during our weekly team meetings. What stays the same, our project priorities and our deadlines. What's changing is how we track tasks and escalate roadblocks. Here's what I know. The rollout happens in phases, and we'll get training next week. What's still being finalized is how we'll migrate the old projects. I know a big question is whether this adds to your workload, and I'm asking that question too. As soon as I have the answer, you'll have it too. As your leader, supervisor, manager, I'm committed to filtering the noise and sharing relevant updates quickly. What I'll ask from you is openness to learning the tool and honesty about what support you need. Sharing that message with your team takes 5 minutes. That's the whole framework in action. And it's the difference between a team that's confused and resistant and a team that feels led and understood. Now, let's talk about the part that makes most leaders the most uncomfortable, the pushback. You deliver the message clearly, you take your 5 minutes, you use the framework, and then you get eye rolls, heavy silence, sarcastic comments, or just exhausted, not this again, energy in the room. In that moment, the instinct could easily be to become defensive, convince them everything is fine, stay loyal to the party line, or shut the conversation down before it goes somewhere uncomfortable. Let me offer you a different approach. You don't have to defend the change. You can name the emotion, hold the space for your team, and still move the conversation forward. Here are 3 types of resistance and exactly how to respond to each. The first resistant type is the skeptic. This is the person who says things like, we've tried this before, it never works, or leadership changes direction every 6 months. Why even bother? Your goal is to acknowledge the experience without getting pulled into a venting spiral. Try this. You're right. We've seen a lot of shifts over the past couple of years, and it makes sense that you feel skeptical. Here's how I'm thinking about this one, and here's what we actually control. Then bridge back to the team's sphere of influence, namely, what I want us to focus on is how do we make this as workable as possible for us? And how do we protect our energy while we do it? You're not overpromising, you're not going for perfection. You are anchoring them to what they can influence. Here's the second resistance type, the worrier. This person goes straight to fear. Does this mean layoffs? Is my role going to change? Am I going to be left behind? Lower the threat level with honesty and specificity. And here's something that you can say. I hear that you're worried about your job security. Here's what I know. And here's what I don't know. Right now, there's no information suggesting changes to our team. If that changes, I will tell you directly. In terms of skill support, here's what we'll have access to. And if you truly don't know, don't guess. Rather offer containment instead and say, I don't have that answer yet. What I can commit to is that you will not be the last to know. That's your second resistance type. And here's the final and third resistance type, the quiet disengager. This is the person who doesn't say much, but you feel them pulling back. Cameras off, monosyllabic responses. They say fine, but they are not fine. The real work here happens one-on-one in a private conversation instead of in front of everyone, and really open with genuine curiosity. And here's something that you can say. I've noticed you've been quieter since we announced the change, and I value your perspective. How are you really feeling about all of this? Then stop talking, pause, let the silence do the work. When they start sharing, reflect back what you hear, and then ask the question. It's a small one, but it's powerful. What would make this transition 10% more manageable for you? Not 100% perfect, just 10% better. That question moves someone from overthinking to problem solving, and it often reveals a simple adjustment you can make to keep them engaged. And there you have it, the 3 resistance types. So we've talked about leading your team through change. Now let's talk about what you do with everything you're seeing and hearing on the ground, because that information is valuable and you have a responsibility to share it. The challenge is that many women leaders hesitate to share feedback upward because they don't want to come across as resistant or negative. So we tend to stay quiet, and the organization misses critical information that could make the change work more effectively. Here's a 3-part structure that lets you advocate upward in a strategic and credible way. Part 1 is silent alignment. Start by acknowledging the direction or intent, not enthusiastically, but clearly. I understand the decision to consolidate tools and improve visibility across teams. You're saying, I get what we're trying to do. That's not flattery. That's simply laying the foundation of what is true. That's part 1. Part 2, share your impact. Describe what you're observing on the ground in specific, non-dramatic terms. Since the announcement, here's what I'm seeing. People are unclear about priority decisions, and that hesitation is slowing us down. The 3 questions I'm hearing repeatedly are about decision rights, reporting lines, and how performance will be evaluated. That's all you're going to do. You're going to make sure that what you're sharing, the impact, is concrete, it's calm, and you are not complaining, but giving a briefing. That's how you share your impact. And then lastly, part 3, don't bring just the problem, bring possible solutions and offer some options. And you could say, to help us move faster, I recommend either a simple 1-page who decides what guide for each team, or a focused Q&A session on roles and responsibilities. Which direction feels more aligned with how you're thinking about this? That final question positions you as a collaborator, as a partner. You're not there to slow down the change. You are not resisting the change. You are there to ensure that it lands for the team and perhaps even the organization. As we wrap up, here's the core idea I encourage you to take with you. You do not need a C-suite title to lead change. You lead change every single time you make it more understandable, more human, and more workable for the team you're responsible for. When you communicate with context and clarity, name what you know and what you don't, hold space for real emotions without getting swept away, and advocate upward with solutions, you are not stuck in the middle. You are the bridge that keeps the organization moving and your team intact. So here's your action step for this week. Just one. Think about the one change your team is navigating right now. Then choose one of the 3 things we talked about today, the 5-part framework, one of the resistance strategies, or the upward advocacy structure, and use it this week. That means you are going to have one conversation or send one email and do one check-in, because small moves that you make consistently are what build the kind of leadership presence that gets you noticed. If today's episode was useful to you, please share it with another woman leader in your world who could use this right now. And if you haven't already, leave a rating or review. It genuinely helps the show reach more women who need it. Until next Monday, my friend, I am Kele, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.